Ferrari 250 GTO was the final evolution of the company's all-conquering 250 GT series of cars, continuing the run of successes in races, rallies and hill climbs achieved by its predecessors, and even eclipsing them with a multitude of wins and podium finishes in national and international events worldwide. Today, the model is widely regarded as the ultimate expression of the Ferrari GT car, as it was the last model you could drive to the track, compete in, and drive home again. It has achieved iconic status amongst discerning Ferrari collectors, being the jewel in the crown of a fortunate few, as only 36 examples were ever produced. In 1962, new regulations came into effect, which meant that the Manufacturers' Championship between 1962 and 1964 were to be contested by GT cars. 250 GTOs won all of those championships. Originally designed by Bizzarini, but he was unable to finish the project as he found himself on the wrong side of the factory gates following the Palace Revolution. The project was then handed over to Sergio Scagliati and was first shown at the Ferrari pre-season press conference in February 1962. This particular example, chassis number 3527, which we are proud to have recently sold, was the 16th GTO produced. It has the features from the later production run, such as the wider radiator opening with the aluminium trim surround, the circular brake cooling ducts, and the lights recessed into the front wings, along with the rear spoiler being an integral part of the body compared to the earlier examples which had it bolted on. It was completed in August 1962 and in the September sold new to Lucien Bianchi, who drove the car in the Tour de France literally only a few days later. It's believed that Bianchi invested all of his money into the car and meticulously prepared it for the race. If one thought that the Le Mans 24 Hours race was a tough endurance race, then you had to take a whole new perspective relative to the Tour de France. With circuit races and hill climbs the length and breadth of France and sometimes beyond. It was a real test of man and machine, long driving days, short night's sleep over its 8-day duration, pushing everything and everybody to the limit. The race consisted of 7 hill climbs and 7 circuit races. And before one should think that doesn't sound too daunting, take into account the distances that they had to travel between each transit stage, which totaled some 5,000 kilometers alone. Not only did the car and drivers have to be quick in the competitive part of the event, they also had to have reliability in the transit stages, which had to be finished in an allotted time so as not to incur penalties. There were 8 GTOs that took part in the race and 146 cars in total. However, only 46 were classified finishers. Bianchi won the Tour de France in 57, 58, 59 and 1964. However, in 1962 it was heartbreak. With an unassailable lead with only one race to go, he collided with a milk truck heading to the final circuit. The accident caused damage to the front nose of the car, but as the damage was mainly confined to bodywork, the supporting crew decided that if they removed the bodywork forward of the centre of the front wheel arches, that the car would still be drivable. Ferrari's Cliente personnel, under the supervision of the head of the division, Florini, carried out some temporary repairs, and the rather battered-looking GTO continued on its way to the final race. Upon arrival, the officials refused to let it participate in the race, deeming it unsafe. From contemporary reports, even if it would have trundled around the track at a much reduced pace, it would have still been the overall winner of the event. One could be a skeptic and say that French officials wouldn't let it run in the final race, so the victory went to a French driver over a Belgian one. But surely they were above that sort of thing. Despite not participating in the final race, points won up to that time still gave it a 7th place overall finish. In 1963, the car was sold to Swiss banker and gentleman racing driver Armand Boller. Boller would campaign the car in 63 and 64 in Swiss hill climbs and sprint events. Boller retired from motor racing in 1965 after finishing 6th at Le Mans. He then decided to civilise his 250 GTO into a more user-friendly road car and gave the car to Graber, a Swiss coach building firm based near Bern in Switzerland. The extent of the works was to the interior, which he had more sumptuously trimmed in leather, plus the addition of sound deadening quilt, carpet and sun visors. He subsequently sold the car to Lord Anthony Bamford, who kept the car until 1973 before selling to Don Nelson, a client who's based very near to us and who kept the car until 1984. Don Nelson sold the car to Stephen Pilkington, a very well-known Ferrari collector based in the northwest of England. Stephen kept the car for over 20 years before selling it to a very good client of ours, Lord Irving Laidlaw, in 2005. Lord Laidlaw immediately set about totally restoring the car, but ensuring that the original bodywork was preserved throughout the restoration. We're very proud to have sold this car recently. It's gone to a fantastic home, and we hope to have her back in the future.